bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast Newsmakers. Our topic today is public education. Here to discuss it with us is the Executive Director of the Michigan Association of School Boards, Kathy Hayes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, January, who would have known, is the School Board Appreciation Month. Is this true?
It is true. It's School Board Recognition Month, and it's a month that is usually proclaimed by the governor as a time to recognize our volunteer school board members across the state.
Well, volunteer school board members, it's always a thankless job and a difficult job, but especially in these times right now with so many school districts and thus school boards having to make very controversial sometimes decisions, especially about budget cuts. I know they're doing it just about in every district across the state. What are going to be the biggest challenges for school boards coming up in '09?
Well, the biggest challenges are exactly what you were talking about there, Laurel, with student enrollment declining in a lot of districts and being dependent on state funding, and that's tied to student enrollment. Districts are really facing some real funding crisis, and it's going to be a real challenge for them to keep their districts afloat, make the right decisions, and some of those decisions are very complex decisions, not easy decisions to make by school board members. So I think you're absolutely right. Those are the challenges that they're going to be facing.
And you really can only cut so much. You can cut transportation here and there. You can cut programs here and there. You're going to come up against a lot of opposition for those cuts. But then at the end of the day, after you've made them, what are the school boards going to do? Do they need to perhaps try to get the ear of folks in Lansing that, hey, this isn't working, we can't cut anymore?
Yes, I think that's going to have to be the answer. At this point in time, Proposal A was passed about 15 years ago, and at the time it was a proposal that really helped with school funding. And the whole idea was to help narrow the gap between those highly funded districts and the ones that were at the lower end. With this economy and a downturn in the economy, that Proposal A is just not working in the same way that it used to. I think this is a time when we really need to relook at how we fund districts. I think doing some kind of an adequacy study is something that we would recommend, I know, at MASB, an adequacy study that would look at what does it really take to fund the education of students to prepare them for the 21st century. And what kinds of reforms do we need to make in school districts so that students are not only well funded in their education but also are well prepared for the 21st century.
Well, speaking of well prepared, at a time when budgets are declining and cuts are having to be made everywhere, expectations are rising.
Right.
No Child Left Behind is in full force, if you will, and the Obama administration is going to have to make some serious decisions as to whether or not it's working and they want to continue it, and if not, what do you do to make sure that our kids are learning the way they should?
Right. And there's another piece of legislation that I think was well intended. Everybody believes in not leaving any child behind. Whether it's working or not, I think is a big question. And you're right, the Obama administration, I think, will have to be looking, Congress will have to look at the reauthorization of No Child Left Behind and what's working and what's not working. And unfortunately, I don't think we've seen the kinds of changes that people had hoped.
What about some of the other increasing requirements, especially in the high schools, changing curriculum, increased requirements in math, that type of thing? School boards need to look at those things.
Right, and there's another challenging issue for school districts with the new high school standards that have been set in the new high school curriculum. I know a lot of districts are facing the whole issue with Algebra 1 and students being able to pass that.
How do you do more with less?
Yes.
A big, important year in '09. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Laurel.
For more information on today's topic, you can visit masb.org. Today's Comcast Newsmaker was Kathy Hayes, the Executive Director of the Michigan Association of School Boards.